Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the Purpose Pursuer webinar, Christmas edition. I want to thank the panelists for being on the call with us today, and that would be we're going in order. So after I speak, it'll be Nicole. Say hi, Nicole. Brandon, say hi to Brandon. And Bill, say hi, Bill. And then the other practitioners will weigh in as they see fit. Super appreciate you all joining us for this webinar because we're talking about New Year's resolutions. And I don't know if the other practitioners have as strong of an aversion as I do to typical goal setting and New Year's resolutions, but that's what we're going to talk about today. We're going to talk about New Year's resolution blueprint style, which literally can happen all year, every year, and should. So I'm going to kick us off because I have such a strong aversion to New Year's resolutions. I had a very fun time prepping my talk today, all around my dog. So my dog, she's not here right now. And she's way too heavy for me to lift up and show her to you, but she is a Saint Bernard. Now, I'm going to use her by way of explaining why I have such an aversion to New Year's resolutions. She's a big dog, and you probably know Saint Bernards are designed. They're literally physically and mentally designed to protect. It is amazing watching her. She has had no training whatsoever, and yet she is always in protect mode. My husband and I noticed that she will put her nose right on our hind end, which gets, yes, very annoying, and like guide us and direct us as to what she thinks we should be doing. Even she goes so far. The other night, I was doing some sit-ups on the floor, and she comes right over me. She snuffleupaguses around my head, making sure I'm okay. She is doing her purpose as she is built to do. And again, she has had zero training to do so. Now, just imagine if my St. Bernard looks at a greyhound and says, "Ooh, I would like to be that greyhound." Can you imagine a dog doing that? No. And yet we as people do it all the time. So let's go back to my dog Annie. So let's just imagine Annie's seeing a greyhound. You know, they're sleek, super fast, long legs. They're diametrically opposed to Annie's design. Annie is bulky. She does run. She does do zoomies, but they are very short-lived. She only does them for a certain period of time. So imagine she's watching a greyhound and she's like, "Ooh, I would like to be more like that greyhound. I'm going to start running. I am going to set myself a New Year's resolution, or I'm going to set myself a goal to run. And I want to run at a certain speed for a certain period of time, just like that greyhound, because I want to look just like that greyhound." You hear how ridiculous this is. We would never expect that of a dog. And yet we do that to ourselves all the time. We look at other people, we think we like what they're doing, and so we think automatically they must have something that we don't have. So we're now going to set some goals for ourselves, New Year's resolutions or just a regular goal, and we're going to go after that goal like crazy. We're going to discipline ourselves. We're going to get up at 5 a.m. and work out. We're going to do whatever it takes to get to that goal. Well, just like Annie, that other person is different than you. So let's take this concept of working out. If Annie were to work out like a greyhound, she might kill herself. I kid you not. She just is not built to run that far, that fast, for that long. If a greyhound conversely looked at Annie and tried to like a St. Bernard's design to actually carry somebody, not carry, but maybe drag somebody, she's beefy girl naturally. Can you imagine a greyhound going to the gym to try to bulk up like a greyhound? Or sorry, like a St. Bernard. But again, we do this all the time. So now let's take working out. This is a good one. My blueprint suggests certain things about me working out. Brandon's does too. Nicole's does too. Frank's does. C Captain, Jenny, Bill. We all have unique blueprints. By the way, I just was listing everybody that's on this call. We have different blueprints when it comes to working out. So we're going to and should work out differently based on whatever our blueprint is. The trick is we've actually got to identify that. I as my own version of Annie, my dog, I need to figure out what my blueprint is and work with that blueprint instead of spending a bunch of time looking at other people's achievements and try to adapt them as my own. That would be as silly as Annie trying to be a greyhound, a Saint Bernard trying to be a greyhound, or vice versa. If I instead focus on what do I have already within me? What is my natural? What is my interest? What am I curious about? You can see how that would apply to working out. So let's say at the end of 2024 and the beginning of 2025, I want to work out more. I actually genuinely feel a desire to work out more. Well, if I look at Brandon and try to do what Brandon does for workout, who, by the way, is ex-military, I also might kill myself. I have to do what I'm actually interested in doing. Jenny and I talk about this all the time. Jenny loves working out, and she has experimented with a variety of workout techniques and times to figure out what works best for her. Because when she works out according to her blueprint, her design, her interest, guess what? The working out actually is sustainable. If I tried to work out like Brandon, it wouldn't last very long. I'm just not designed that way. So we're here as a group to help you answer the question, who am I? And why am I here? What is my design? And the amazing thing is, each one of us has a natural design. Each one of us has a toolbox full of tools that are designed to help us create value and have fun in the world. And if we're more busy focused on what other people have and what other people have achieved, the entire time we will be missing what we have. Back to my dog, she'd be out running instead of protecting. And there are people that need her design, just as there are people that need your design. And if you're busy setting New Year's resolutions and goals throughout the year that are based on what other people are doing, you'll be missing the boat entirely. And the saddest thing about designing your life around somebody else's blueprint is not only will it not be fun for you, it won't be successful, it won't be effective. And the whole time, there's this group of people out there who actually need exactly your design, your specific design, but they're not getting it because you're focused over here trying to be somebody that you're not. You've probably heard there's a quote that says, why try to be someone else? That's all taken. It's taken by other people, but nobody is taking your spot. So shouldn't you? So thank you again, everybody, for coming. And I'm going to now pass it on to some of the other practitioners, but let's open this up for conversation. Are there any questions or comments before we move on to Nicole? I take that as a no. All right, Nicole, are you ready to share with us your wisdom and your blueprint?
Yes, I think so.
Excellent.
I do have to say, though, before I jump in, that listening to you talk about the workout and the blueprint for the workout, it brought back something to me that I hadn't really thought about as we kind of had these discussions over the last couple of weeks. And that was um, my blueprint for working out. I found quite randomly by accident, but this is a good one for New Year's resolutions because frequently people use New Year's as an opportunity to say, I'm going to start working out. I'm going to get up at 5 o'clock in the morning and I'm going to work out for 45 minutes and then I'm going to, do whatever they do the rest of the day. And I have fallen into that trap, but I quite by accident found that my time to work out is really early afternoon, like 12:30 or 1 o'clock. And so all those years that I tried to get up at 5 o'clock, I did get up at 5 o'clock, but it wasn't the workouts were not good. They were not fun. They were just exhausting to me. But when I quite by accident started working out at noon or 12:30, it's like, oh my gosh, this is awesome. So it's funny that you brought that up that way.
Thank you so much. If I can counter on that, I so appreciate you bringing that specific example up. Time is amazing. You were still doing the same workout, I'm assuming, right? Just
Yep.
at a different time. And the energy that you felt and the actual fun that you had literally just by shifting it by a couple of hours. It's fascinating. And then because you saved energy there, you were able to put it into other things even more because you had excess instead of being drained after your 5 a.m. workout. Perfect example. Thank you.
The example that I really sort of settled on as we talked through, this idea that people set New Year's resolutions to try to, I'm not sure if they're really trying to be somebody else, but in some fashion, at least this is how it has always been for me, looking at things and saying, I have failed in this area, or I've not been as good as I should have been in this area. Therefore, I'm going to really focus on doing something different so that I can become better in this area. And my example that I have just continued to kind of fall back on was this idea of being very organized and using a day planner and trying, 15 different day planners, sometimes 3 or 4 of them in one year, to figure out the best way to get organized, and finally coming to the conclusion and realizing that those day planners, they are not me. They don't define me. They don't create or take away from my blueprint, from my success, from the person that God created me to be. They actually limit my creativity and my ability to excel and do the things that I need to do, because now I'm bound by this little book that tells me at 7 o'clock I'm supposed to be eating breakfast, and at 7:30 I'm supposed to be, whatever I'm doing. Where my natural inclination is to be a little bit more free wielding and not quite so structured from a planning perspective like that. So I think the biggest thing that really jumps out to me when we have this conversation is, once we understand and know that our blueprint is uniquely ours and that we have been created in a way that is beautiful and unique and um, incredible, we can begin to put away the idea that I would be better if I did this the way this person did it, or if I did it the way these people that talk about success are doing it. You can't create success with someone else's blueprint for yourself. You have to know your own blueprint and capitalize and really share that blueprint with others in the world. Does that make sense?
Oh, 100%. Yes. Do you want to go on?
Not unless you have questions.
Yeah, okay, awesome. Yeah, I just wanted to make sure I wasn't interrupting you. I love how you're talking about this. It is kind of related back to what I was mentioning earlier is energy. But we have resources. All of us have resources available to us to do the work that we're meant to do in the world and have fun in the way that we're meant to have fun. And if we're spending it trying to be someone else's, we're wasting that energy. Those resources are running out of us at high rates of speed. So I appreciate very much you're talking about the trade-off there, that okay, someone else may have proven success with their blueprint, but if I let go of mine in deference to theirs, I'm letting go of all my natural resources at the same time. Well said, girl. Frank, I saw your hand up earlier. Do you still have a share? Oh, I can't hear you, love.
There we go. I was just thinking in terms of the resolution to do something that really doesn't call to you
Mhm.
because the outside world is appraised that this is what you ought to do. And way back in my days of, I was quizzed, hey, what's the best exercise to do? Okay, push-ups, is it like swimming? And it's like, then the thought was brought to me, it's like, it's the one you'll do. That's the best exercise. It's the one you'll actually take yourself to do. And the one for me is, my wife always sometimes complains about this. She goes, hey, what are you in a foot race? And even as a very heavy guy, I would always be 4, 7 paces ahead of her. And I love walking. In fact, I walk 7 miles a day now. And it's like, that's, and the resolution isn't have to, oh no, here it comes. I got to go do my, no, you don't got to do anything. You get to do this. And because it's what you do anyways, it's natural. So that's kind of like what I thought.
Thank you. And I want to take that get to do and extend it to your entire life. That's what Blueprint is. No matter whether it's a relationship, a project, a job, your blueprint allows you to approach your decision making based on get to, want to. Love it. Thank you, Frank. Any other comments before we move on to Brandon? Yes, see Captain Seth.
Nicole, you killed it. So the one piece that really stood out for me was that deficiency piece.
Mm.
It reminds me that we're equipped already for every good work. So when I step into this place, my mindset of being whole and complete is far different than most of my experience was. There was always some deficiency I was trying to solve.
Mm-hmm.
Um, so love that piece. The the fit of those things that I'm trying to do, like do they really fit within me, stood out. And then uh, being faced with a list of things in your world, like multiplier minds, I think I had a list of 65 hobbies. And then I got challenged with, well, yeah, you might have the equipment for 65 hobbies in your garage, but what's actually something that you, no kidding, have done 3 or 4 times per day, per week, whatever the time hack is. And I found out that I was hugely deficient in that place. So I loved having the idea of it isn't the same thing as apparently doing it. So forcing that action was helpful to me also.
I love it. And you can seriously just watch yourself and see the pattern. Like and when I'm working out, what do I actually want to do? And letting go of the should. Frank, you talked earlier about what is the best exercise. How crazy is it that we think there's one good exercise for everyone? That's like saying my dog should work out the same as a greyhound. Ludicrous. And yet we're seeking what is the one answer that everybody has? It doesn't work that way. Thank you, Seth. Any other comments before we move on to Brandon? All right, Brandon, you ready to wow us with your wisdom?
I don't know about that. Um, Actually, Nicole said something when you brought up the day planners. I just immediately was like, yeah, there's an infinite amount of day planners out there. And when you think about it, it's because somebody gets sick and tired of all the day planners that don't align with their blueprint, whether they call it a blueprint or not.
Yep.
And they're like, you know what? I'm just going to create the perfect day planner for me, and then I'll sell it and other people can have it if they want. But really it reminds me of the person who's just fed up with all those different non-aligned day planners, and so they create their own based off of their own blueprint. I don't know, they're probably not specifically thinking in those terms. Maybe they are, but that's how I just thought of it. And so
Yep.
I thought that was a really really great example. um, yeah. So when I think of New Year's resolutions, what everybody has said so far really resonates with me. And it goes to this idea of you could set random goals and be achieving those goals all the time. But if you never take the time to actually uncover your purpose, to uncover what you're meant to be doing, what you're uniquely here to do, then how do you know if those goals are actually the goals that you should be focusing on? And so I've met people who are just like, man, I'm just a high achiever. I'm crushing my goals, yet I still feel like something's off. Something's still missing. but I don't get it because I'm crushing these goals. Or they'll link it to their mentor. Man, my mentor did this, he's crushing it, and I'm surpassing my mentor. And to me, again, it comes back to whose path are you on? This idea of the golden path fallacy, this idea that there's some path that others have carved, or there's a trail that others have been on, and I respect them and I want to be like them. And so I'm going to follow that. I'm going to copy and paste. And it's a fallacy to think that that's going to work for you. And it's definitely a fallacy if you can't examine that and articulate the connection between that path and you and what you're meant to be doing and who you're meant to be helping. And that's a fallacy. And I think that if you haven't, instead of setting more resolutions or random goals based on what you think you should be doing, because that's what they're doing, that's what they said to do, that's what from the day I was born till right now, I've been led to believe is the path I'm supposed to be on. Before you do that again, take some time to look inward and to uncover your passions, values, skills, purpose, and cause, why you're meant to be here, what you're meant to be doing, so that you can begin to connect whatever you want to call it, resolutions, goals, a vision, action steps, right? You can begin to align those things with what you're meant to be doing. That's where I would start before any resolutions or goals were set.
In fact, that could be a resolution, right? To spend some time investigating self. Love it.
Yeah.
Thank you, Brandon. Yeah, Frank, go for it.
The thing that was coming up to me, what Brandon was saying is like this idea of an unfulfilled resolution actually makes me depressed. Which is actually that the foundation of that is afraid that my life isn't going to turn out, or afraid I'm letting myself and others down. And it's almost like, okay, there goes confidence out the window. There goes trust right out the window. Not in myself, but in my creator, God. And it's like, and if you're afraid, or if there's no confidence, there is no movement. That's why it's kind of like to take in the moment spontaneity that even Nicole was talking about, instead of, hey, look, get rid of all these wonderful booklets. And again, structure is good, but it's like take what you have and go now with it. And you'll find that confidence starts coming in, and then you can venture further and further, and vistas start opening up. And it's like, okay, I'm really not the dum-dum I thought, or whatever fill in the blank that I thought or the world was appraising me as. I'm not that. I'm better than that.
Thank you. Yes, you're bringing up a really good point. When we're looking at somebody else's success, that's all we can envision for ourselves. What we don't know, because we haven't unearthed it yet, is what is the possibility of our blueprint? And you said it so well. When we start walking that path, vistas open. Not only do vistas open and we get started to really, we get more excited about our future and our possibility than Joe Schmo over there. And as you mentioned, we are infused with a greater degree of confidence. As Brandon mentioned, we can follow, we can do, we can discipline ourselves to do anything. But doing so with enthusiasm and confidence is a game changer. Would you guys agree?
Can I add something to
Yeah.
this, Tammy?
Yes, go for it.
To that point as well, and hopefully I can articulate this well. When we become confident in our own blueprint, we can begin to look at other people and truly appreciate how much they've accomplished through their own blueprint. Because now, instead of looking at them and going, I wish I was that person, I wish I could do what that person is doing, we can really look at them and go, wow, they are accomplishing what's inside their blueprint, and I'm accomplishing what's inside my blueprint. And it just allows us to be more humble and more grateful and just more appreciative of what everybody is able to do.
Yep. And the diversity, right? The diversity of God's creation. It truly is astounding. I agree with you 100%. And I love that you brought that up. Thank you. I think I saw both Frank and Jen have something to say. Frank, no? Jen, did you have something you wanted to say?
Yeah, actually, so I appreciate how you identified there, Brandon, um, to separate the copy and paste of somebody else's shoulds, right? And that distinction of anytime should comes into the picture, it is most likely a reflection that it is not in alignment with our own blueprint, right? So if I should do this like so and so, or I should have this, or I should set resolutions, whatever that is, it's a pretty big wake up call to stop and check for alignment and maybe cherry pick what are some things that attracted me to those goals. Like, what is there something there that does align, and then adjust those goals accordingly. So there's a funny little saying that I hear in my mind a lot when I hear I should do this. And I try to remind myself, stop shoulding all over yourself. So, so anytime you think of that, just think of that. Am I shoulding all over myself right now?
Yeah.
Oh, well, okay.
Yeah. Oh my gosh, that's perfect. I have heard of that, but that was a great reminder. I love the action item you just gave everybody, Jen. If you find yourself being admired or admiring, being attracted to what somebody else is doing, ask yourself, as Jen said, what is it about what they're doing that interests me? And I love that verb, cherry pick. Ooh, genius, girl. That was a genius word. We can cherry pick from everything in our life because most likely we don't carte blanche love something or carte blanche hate something. It doesn't either all fit us or all not fit us. And so what you're suggesting is a research action that people can start today to identify their blueprint by cherry picking what fits for me, what doesn't fit for me. Even in investigating what doesn't fit for me, you can find by contrast and by the opposite what does fit for you. Powerful, powerful research tool that Jen just gave you. Thank you so much. Before we go to Bill, I want to explain the concept of blueprint. Why did we call this the blueprint process? Well, you may recognize that word blueprint from the construction industry. Unless you're not permitted, you you would not build a building without a blueprint. Now, obviously, when you drive around the countryside, you see some buildings that may not have had a blueprint, but for the most part, construction contractors work from a blueprint to know how to build the building. They refer back to it all the time. In fact, blueprints are made in such a way that they can be rolled up, stuck in a tube, and carted with them from place to place as they're figuring out the construction of this particular building. They're always referencing. In fact, somewhere on the job site is a trailer, a job trailer that has the blueprints in the job trailer, at least one copy, so that they can go in at any point when they have a question and cross-reference with exactly how that blueprint is, or sorry, how that building is supposed to be designed. Well, that's what the blueprint process does for people. We, just like a building, have a blueprint. It's already there. It's set in stone. We don't we don't come to the earth with a blank slate and then our education and our experience and the people that are around us create the blueprint. No, you come ready made. That's principle number 3 of blueprint process. You come ready made with all the things that you need to do the work that you need to do in the world. And so a smart person, as Brandon is talking about, as Jen is talking about, will do the research first. Stop trying to be a greyhound. Figure out who you are and work within that. Design your life around that, just like a contractor would. You guys are amazing. No wonder I asked you to be practitioners. You're killing it. Phil, are you ready to regale us with your wisdom?
Well, I don't know about that. I guess we come back to this whole notion of the New Year's resolution. I guess it's because we have make such a fuss of New Year's Day. People think something special should happen then. If you think about it, every day you wake up is a new year,
Mm.
or it begins a new year. So I don't know that you need to wait till the 1st of January to set a particular change action plan or whatever you want to call it. Um, I guess I'm going to summarize because everybody pretty much hits this nail on the head. And I think if you find the first red flag for me always is if you find yourself trying to be something, you're not being you.
Mm.
So, I mean, because you can't be anything else. I mean, you just can't. So I'd say that for me is the uh first red flag. And just on point with that, just be you and do you. And I mean the whole notion of the exercise thing is a great analogy for that because believe me, I've tried and failed at numerous exercise programs. I've got at least 50 years of experience in that. Now some work really well because again, as Frank said earlier, just do something. If you can't think of doing anything, just get outside and walk around the block a couple times. I mean, that constitutes exercise. You're out in nature, good thing. You can do it barefoot, I think, because it's better to be grounded. But difficult to do when you live where I live at this particular time of the year.
A little
But you can
cold?
still, huh?
A little cold?
Yeah, little chilly out. So for me, every day is a new year, and I wake up without a plan and just do something. And it could be anything. It could be repairing a toilet.
Mm.
I mean, for months, I have been hearing this thing leak, and I jiggle it and it stops. And next time I use it again, I can hear it leaking again. And I got all this stuff to do it with, but I just don't feel like doing it. It's easier just to jiggle it, make it stop, rather than wrestle with all the little things underneath and have water all over the place, hurt my knees when I get down on my knees. But there. Well, you can look around. I thought all the information was outside of me, and it's just amazing how much of what I've read I already knew or seemed familiar to me at least. Not that I'm any smarter than anybody else, but because obviously not, because I kept doing the same thing over and over again, expecting different results. So I guess that's my definition of crazy.
Mm.
I think that's pretty much it. Getting to the blueprint, though, I think the thing I like about is it's very, very much individualized. Each person gets to decide for themselves, and everybody on this call has had some experience walking somebody through this. And you know when you're doing it right because they're doing something for them. You may not totally disagree with it, totally be outside of your wheelhouse, but you can tell it's for them. And that's the point. I mean, the whole point is we can't walk ourselves through the blueprint. It's too easy to lie to yourself. It's too easy to just throw a crock up there real quick and say, "Oh, that's me." No, it's not. Because if it was, you wouldn't have to find it.
Thank you, sir. I appreciate that last part, as Brandon was saying earlier. It is easier just to take a question like, what is your purpose? Or what are you here to do? What do you value? And come up with a quick answer and stick with that. That's easier, just like fixing your toilet.
Well,
It take
especially the New Year's resolution area, or any of those resolutions that we make, whether we make them every day or not. I mean, one of the first questions you ought to ask yourself is, who or what am I doing this for? Because 9 times out of 10, it's probably not for you. Not that that's bad, but it may not be you if you're doing it.
Do I see someone else start to talk?
Bill just made me think of a lot of things, and one of those things being that it's not that looking to get better or change or do any of the things that people do with New Year's resolutions is a bad thing. It's finding a way to complement what you I don't know that I'm going to say this quite right, but it's finding the way to do that in a way that's already you. So it's not a bad thing for me to want to get more organized and be more efficient with my time. The catch is, how do I do that within the framework that is already me instead of trying to do it in the framework that is Tammy or Brandon or Jenny or Bill or whoever? How do I do it in the framework that's already me? None of us are saying we shouldn't try to get better or do things better like that. That's not the point. It's the point of it is really uncovering and realizing who you are, how you were created, and then using that as the catalyst to continue to improve and get better and bring your message to the world. And Bill said something about, look around, and he has read, I mean, clearly he loves to read. I see the books and I'm like, oh man, I would love to stand there and see what books you've got. Because it speaks to me. I love to read too. There's nothing wrong with reading to get more information and knowledge and understanding. And that's in Bill's blueprint to read and absorb and learn and dig. And I think that's really cool.
Totally agree. And you're so right. I mean, I have the honor of, hi Brandon. I did see you too, Frank. I have the honor of helping Bill unearth his blueprint. And for those listening, all of us here are designed to help you unearth your blueprint. So if you do want help with that, we're here for you. And I had the honor to unearth Bill's blueprint. And you're absolutely right, Nicole. That wasn't a should, was it, Bill? To
No,
get those books. Yeah. You just had the natural desire to do it. And I appreciate both you and Jen talking about if you feel like you should be doing something, obligated, catch yourself, be aware. Brandon, what you got?
Well, Nicole reminded me, like, it's really important to me that people know that I have mentors in my life that I credit for helping me get to where I'm at. I love mentors. The copy and paste for me ties directly to what Nicole was saying. Copy and paste exactly doesn't work because we have unique blueprints, we have unique environments, there's different contexts to our lives. No matter how similar you think you are to your mentor, to this person you're copying, you're different, you're unique. And so it becomes, what are the principles that I can take from what my mentor's saying or what I'm watching somebody else do? Or, what are the principles there, the underlying root principles of why they're even taking those steps? And now or do I need to be taking those principles and applying them to my unique blueprint, context, life, environment, you name it. You are different. You are unique. And so copy and paste, even if it works in the short term, won't work long term when all of those other factors come into play.
Well said. Thank you. That's back to the cherry pick idea. Like it's very, very important to cherry pick. And I feel like a lot of you, Bill, Brandon, we're talking about being aware, being self-aware instead of other aware. It's a fascinating shift. And the only way we're going to achieve our purpose in this world is if we become self-aware first and then help. Frank, did you have something?
Yeah, it's just it was related to what Jenny was saying and others, but there was this should thing, and should in my mind comes up as acceptable, not acceptable. And when I look at my blueprint and the world at large, it's like, okay, this wouldn't go in the world at large. And it's me, and I'm good with it. Case in point, it's like the thing that I find really fascinating is that by knowing my own blueprint, I'm actually at ease listening to other people without talking and actually hearing their blueprint. I got a flat tire on Saturday morning, heading somewhere way out in the middle of the boondocks, and the tow truck driver shows up, young guy, 31 years old. And I was just listening to him, and I could hear his blueprint. Anyways, the upshot of this is that we are buddies now. He has a copy of my first book. And he was just like, wow, I didn't mind driving 38 miles to deliver your car with you back to the because he got more out of it. I mean, so, but it's like he goes, the idea was you you really understand where I'm coming from it, and you didn't have judgment with it. In fact, you were offering clarity, even colleagueship in moving beyond being a tow truck driver and trying to support 6 kids and a wife, and all these things. And I could just see the encouragement and the confidence and the idea of going back to acceptable, not acceptable. It's like, had I been in the acceptable stage, then I probably would have just not said or not ventured. And it's like, no, now that I know where Frank operates with ease, and I can go there because confidence is already there, and I don't have to worry about acceptable, not acceptable.
Love it. Uh, Frank, can you, I hope you guys are hearing me okay. I see that I might have audio quality issues. Um, can you, I know I'm kind of putting you on the spot here, but can you look at your blueprint and identify the blueprint item that you were referencing earlier when you were talking about listening, like a particular way that you listen?
The one that comes immediately to my mind is listening to bring out the heart's to really unpack, discover the heart's desire.
Okay. And I know that you referenced in the past, you haven't been aware that that was one of your blueprint players, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so what would you listen for in the past when you weren't aware of that?
Well, I'd be listening for me, the value that I would get. As a business person, of course, I'm kind of like, I'm trying to size people up to fit my agenda versus like, look, everybody comes preloaded with an agenda. And it's like, wow, that's the joy of being able to listen to what the agenda is. And like, well, hey, I could definitely help with that. I could definitely come alongside you and help with that. And I don't have to worry about my agenda. And that's kind of like one of the miraculous things that happens. It's like, I don't have to promote Frank. I don't have to come from this. I'm just here to be over there. And it's, well, I'm going to use the word fun. It's fun to do that. But more than that, it's like it really yields treasures that I could not have even anticipated at the beginning.
Yes,
And all
exactly.
I'm doing is just being quiet and calm and not having the inner noise going on and just kind of, what's going on over there with you? And, it's amazing what you get to hear from people at large and even in incarceration.
Mm.
It turns out everybody's got a blueprint and everybody's got heart's desires that are unresolved, unmet, thwarted, whatever, all these things. And you can step into that.
And when you step into it, you find both fun and effectiveness,
Yeah.
which is
And there's also a release of this apprehension on over there, and people actually tell me things, and I'm sure that they've actually said this. I don't tell this to even people that are close to me in my life, and it's weird to me why it is that I'm telling you.
Mhm.
And I don't have to even add to that. I go, because I know what it is. It's called, look, we we're talking heart to heart here. And I just met you 30 minutes ago. So yeah.
Now, I know because, again, I've had the honor of uncovering your blueprint with you. I know that you haven't always listened like that, like we were just saying. How long have you known, and it's okay if this is just a guesstimate, how long have you known this particular blueprint item, would you say?
Well, it can't be more than 2, 3 years.
All right, so you've known that you have this listening to unlock or to unveil the heart's desire. That's how we have worded it in your blueprint, and we uncovered that 2 or 3 years ago.
Mhm.
And this is an example of a New Year's resolution. Frank has known this blueprint item for 2 or 3 years. But I know because I've had the luxury of getting to talk to you once a week that it wasn't until just recently that this became forefront in your thinking and actually became what we think of as a New Year's resolution or a goal. You probably weren't thinking of it that way, but this thing popped up in your blueprint that you've known about for 2 to 3 years, and you had a strong desire to grow in this particular blueprint item. It
Right.
is just like a contractor going back to the blueprint to determine where the frickin' window should be. Like, we need to have this on our table, on our wall. We need to know what our blueprints are so that when it comes time to answer the question, how do I want to grow? How do I want to change? We know where to go.
Right.
You, uh, Bill has it behind him. Brandon has it behind him. We each have around 100 items, 100 tools in our toolbox. We don't need more.
And the thing comes is when people actually catch a glimpse that they actually do have this toolbox, again, they're just beginning to see the glimmers of it. It allows them. It's kind of like this thing where Sherpa or guide and teacher mentor has been used here. It's like as quickly as possible, you got to see your own blueprint to actually take the wheel and
Yes.
actually and the thing is with me, it's like it's in the doing. It's not in the reading about it. It's actually in the no, you're good. You're good to go. You just go and do with it and don't worry about it. And that's the thing. It's like combat training if you're in the military like Brandon or whatever. But it's just like, look, you're gonna know it as you do it,
Mhm.
and you become more confident with the usage. And uh, I'm just only beginning to realize to materialize that, if you want to use that word. So and it just breeds confidence in me because it's like every time I'm stepping out into the public, I can I go with my tool with my tool belt. And it's like, well, in other words, it eliminates all this guesswork of, oh gosh, how should I be in this situation? Or I'm going to be with this group of business. No, you're always going to be frank in those situations and relax. Just be you.
Yep.
Don't try to live out of somebody else's suitcase. You've done that for many years.
Yeah.
Nothing in there has fit you.
Yeah. And you've noticed that as you stepped into that suitcase, not only is it more fun, it's more effective. Nicole, I saw you come unmuted. What do you have?
I was just thinking, my brain, this is just how my brain works. And that's one of the things that I've come to just really appreciate. But Brandon kind of pointed to his blueprint. And I was like, I really wonder what's on Brandon's blueprint. And then just thinking, I would look at his blueprint and there'd probably be some things on there that I go, yeah, that's me. But there would be a lot of things on there that I would be like, that's not me. But I look at my own blueprint, and you and I have done this so many times, and I'm like, it amazes me every single time that I look at it, and I'm like, oh, yeah, that is really me. It is really me. It's just having that knowledge and learning to accept that and revel in it
Mm.
and enjoy it. I can't tell you the level of freedom that it gives to say these things about me are not weird or abnormal or things that I should hide from people. They're things that are beautiful and um, should be shared with people. And some people will connect with them and some people won't, and it's okay.
Mm-hmm. Lovely. That is said so well. Thank you for bringing up the idea of your people versus not your people. Yeah, our blueprints are not meant to shine on absolutely everybody. And it's super important to know that because as you identified, many people might look at your light, they might look at your blueprint and either scoff at it or discount it, not want it. I mean, how many of us have had negative reactions from being who we are? Come on, Jen, raise your hand. Bill, I know you too. So, yeah, that's a very important point that you're bringing up. Thank you, Nicole. Brandon, what you got?
Well, I mean, Nicole, when she said, "Yeah, well, I wonder what's on Brandon's blueprint," um, there's going to be some things the same, some things different, and it goes back to what we've been saying about resolutions and copy and paste, and everybody's got that. Whether they have something on the wall or not doesn't matter. Everybody's got that, and even if you could see theirs and things on there, you're like, "Oh yeah, that's me too." Hold on. Because how is that person defining that for themselves? It could be the same exact word, right? Or this phrase that you would use for yourself with a completely different way to define it. The way that you see it and feel it is different than the way that that person sees it and feel it. And when you recognize that, it's like insane to think that you could copy and paste someone else's path and get the exact same results. And right, we're so unique. No matter how alike we seem, we're so unique.
And the
So I thought that was
dividends.
pretty cool.
Yes, thank you. And the dividends are in those nuanced differences. That's where the power really is. And back to your point earlier, Brandon, we got to stop and take time and assess this stuff. And your toolbox, those, all of us, our blueprints are for our purpose. So, if for no other reason, you need to find your blueprint so you know which direction you're heading. I think Brandon might have mentioned that earlier, and it's so important to know why all that stuff is in there. And so, what we do as practitioners, part of the blueprint process, in fact, it's kind of in the middle, is we collect all this research that you can see on Brandon's wall and behind Bill. We collect all of it, put it on a banner like that, and then we ask ourselves, okay, now what? And Frank mentioned this earlier. It's all in the application. Who cares that you've got a toolbox full of stuff? If those tools never see the light of day, that's deplorable. And if on top of it, you don't know why you're using them, if we think that we're using them just for fun or fulfillment or satisfaction in the moment, we're missing the boat entirely. Every single thing that's there on Brandon's blueprint that you can see is so that he can do his purpose for his people. Again, remember your people versus not your people, and achieve his cause. Like, that's why he's here. And his entire life needs to be moving in that direction. That is a life well lived. Not the boat, not the cars, not the house, not the vacations, not tons of money in the bank. That's not why we're here. And without, you can see, without, or a perfect body, without knowing exactly why we're here, we'll get caught up in that stuff. And we'll be misled. Our activities and our thoughts, our concentration will be absolutely off the mark. And we'll derail what we're supposed to be doing. No worries, though. As principle number 4 suggests, purpose is an infinite journey. And thank God he's got infinite grace. And I know in my own life, he redirects all the time. And I'm so grateful for that because principle number 1 is that purpose is a divine event. So we can want you to find your blueprint and purpose. All we do. It's nothing compared to how much God wants you to find your blueprint and get going on your purpose. Nicole, did you have something to say? Okay. Anything else to wrap up? I so appreciate this conversation. Oh my goodness, it's been amazing. Yes, see, Captain Seth, what you got?
We have time.
Yes, we do.
So in my space here, you all can't see it, is my dad's wall clock that I just got back from the repair shop after the whole passing and all the things. So what's interesting is he maintained this clock for like 50 some years, like winding it, making sure it was the right time, like all of the things every single day. What I noticed is that when it's in this space, all of a sudden I hear this. You'll see me probably doing this now because there's the tick tock thing going on. But what it fundamentally has done is there's this presence feeling this, as people grieve and go through these processes, it's like you see a number of lessons. Like you can't take it with you. It's moving forward, whether I like it or not.
Mm-hmm.
There needs to be a sense of urgency because of all of the things don't really matter. Like he curated this clock every day for so many years. The clock's here, he's not, so you just get into this space. So it just really uh, drove home for me that uh, as we talked about the don't shit all over yourself, which is freaking awesome. Like you know, after Navy careers and all that stuff, and never hearing that don't shit all over yourself, and Brandon's laughing too because of all the sea stories, we figured that would come out. But also at the same time, thinking about it, like I can't tell you how many times I say, I think fill in the blank, I think fill in the blank, I think fill in the blank. I'm not doing anything. So in the same way I'm shitting all over myself, I can't think all over myself because it's not action. So kind of all that's coming together for me. But then, just the last thought is it's the community of people that spend this kind of time with each other that stay present for all of the stories in a way that when you are kind of thinking too much or shooting too much or any of those things, we have trust in a relationship, and these people are more than willing to say, hold on, you shared a story in a way that seemed a lot different than what I know your blueprint to be. So what's going on? There's something bigger happening with you. And the value of that is just off the charts. So I wanted to add that at the end here.
Well said. I appreciate that. In fact, coming to New Year's resolutions, the Blueprint process has a graduate program where that's exactly the kind of thing that happens. People will be talking about sharing a goal that they have or a new project, new relationship or whatever. And we're, as a group of practitioners, we're listening for how is their blueprint represented in that. And if it's not, we speak up. And we're not telling people what to do or not to do. We're just mirroring back to them, look, here's your blueprint. That building that you're talking about building is offset slightly. What can we do to get it back on? And it's an amazing, I continue to be in awe of that occurrence. It's like a rear view mirror or a side view mirror in your vehicle. You can see your blind spots only because of the mirror. And that's what we are for you guys is a mirror. And each of us we work with people in a variety of different ways aligned with our blueprint. We're all on the website, blueprintprocess.com. You're welcome to reach out to any of us. We all have messages out there that you can go peruse and get some good from. And each of us would love to talk to you if you would like. Have a lovely end of 2024. Our next Purpose Pursuer webinar is in January on the 22nd, January 22nd. It's the fourth Wednesday at noon Pacific. And as always, we would love to have you there. It has been a joy talking about our favorite subject. We'll see you all again soon. Practitioners, if you would stay for 2 seconds, that would be great once I stop the recording. Thanks, everyone.